Hello fellow creature, welcome back to Rooftop Talks. I am here in this video to say one thing and one thing only, and it's about bestiality. Do you know who the main opponents are to anti-bestiality laws, laws that outlaw bestiality? It's not the woke left, it's not the Welsh, it's farmers and these massive animal agriculture industries. My main message for this video is a simple one. Animal farmers want and need it to remain legal to fuck animals. You heard that right. With syringes, with tools, with their hands, in places where the sun doesn't shine. This is the dirty little secret that goes on the animal farms. It is a depraved industry that's thriving on your regular donations. Do you buy meat? Do you buy dairy? Do you use animals for entertainment, such as dog racing, horse racing, things like that? You're funding bestiality. You're paying money into the pockets of animal fuckers. That's what you're doing. And I'm just speaking the truth. Don't get sore on me. I'm not going to play this game of dancing around the subject just to protect your feelings. I don't think you need all of that pampering. Animals are routinely raped. Do you take issue with my wording on that? How do we define rape? Well, some might say it's not rape if you use a tool or if you don't touch any of their body or some kind of abstraction like that. So rape with a condom is suddenly not rape? Rape with a dildo is suddenly not rape? What about the people who say it's not rape if the perpetrator doesn't get sexual satisfaction from it? So if you were to penetrate someone for a different motive, like revenge for some kind of thing they've done wrong to you in the past, that's not rape? You wouldn't be found guilty of rape if you dildoed someone and you argued in court that you derived no pleasure from the act itself, no sexual pleasure? I mean, the act is still the same. Who cares if you got sexual pleasure from it or not? The victim experiences it in the same way. What is rape? Non-consensual penetration of a body with any body part or object. With the exception of healthcare, it is not remotely within the animal's interest to be penetrated by a farmhand. Farmhands are not medical professionals. They are just trained to inseminate the reproductive organs of livestock animals like pigs, cows. With cows it's particularly disgusting because they will glove up one hand. They actually put their whole arm into the anus to hold the cervix in place, and then they'll shove a syringe with bull sperm into the female cow, and that's how we get cheese, that's how we get milk, and it's how people breed cows. Now, every time bestiality laws come up, lobby groups representing the interests of farmers and farming corporations always make sure to be present at the front row of the discussion, in opposition to bestiality laws being implemented evenly across all citizens. Animal farmers' unions and lobby groups are by far the most enthusiastic opponents to anti-bestiality laws, because they have so much at stake financially. They have so much to lose if laws are effectively passed and enforced. So the organizations that supply you with your animal products are actively against the outlawing of animal rape. And so what are the results of this participation in lobbying for such exemption from the law or laws that skirt around bestiality in farms? Well, all of this money and effort has created a situation where animal farmers are effectively legally exempt from bestiality laws. Why? The group of humans who are in contact with animals the most out of any other group of people on the planet are exempt from bestiality laws. How come? Well, let's read into it. I can pull up articles from all over, but let's just read an excerpt. This is a secret hidden in plain sight. As state legislatures began proposing anti-bestiality laws in the 1990s, the agriculture lobby repeatedly opposed the bills, largely due to concerns they would criminalize artificial insemination. Missouri offered a particularly clear example of the process. In 2000, Shelley Relenge, executive director of the Missouri Alliance for Animal Abuse Legislation, explained to the state's legislature that animals needed sexual protection from the state. She says, quote, "There is no consensual sex with an animal. They are unable to speak out loud about this abuse." But this argument ran afoul of the state's agricultural lobby, and the proposed anti-bestiality law Relenge was testifying for died in committee, where an identical bill had also perished in 1999. The chairman of the Judiciary Committee, a rancher named Morris Westfall, feared that the law would be used to prosecute veterinarians and farmers who harvested semen from bulls and artificially inseminated cows. Westfall blocked another version of the bill in 2001. The following year, the legislature finally passed a version of the statute that included a blanket exemption for accepted animal husbandry, farming and ranching practices, or generally accepted veterinary medical practices. End citation. If you fuck an animal for pleasure, that's rape. But apparently, if you fuck 1,000 animals for profit, that's animal husbandry. Animal husbandry is a marketing term used to cloak the animal rape industry, to forcibly impregnate mother cows so that they will eventually give birth and lactate to produce milk, which is turned into cheese and cream and milk powder to put in all of your confectionery items for your treats. Bestiality is legal all over the world because of the power of lobby groups representing the interests of wealthy animal farmers. A lot of people say, why don't we outlaw that and keep everything else as it is? The thing is, practically, this is an integral part of the animal agricultural industry. If the sexual assault of animals was outlawed, and that outlawing was enforced, the animal agricultural industry would grind to a halt. And anyone with a cursory knowledge of animal agriculture would be able to tell you that if they didn't jerk off bulls and then forcibly inject the semen into the females, they would have to live transport bulls over to the dairy farms with the females. They would have to wait around for the bulls to fornicate with the females. How many times a day could a healthy bull inseminate? As consensually as animals do, which is that the bull will attempt to mount the female will run away if the female doesn't want it, unlike what the farmhand does, where the female is tied down into a rape rack. The females wouldn't be on the same cycle as each other, so they would be more or less giving birth at random. Some of them would get pregnant, some of them wouldn't. They would be off cycle. And the whole idea of this industry right now is that they impregnate them all at the same time, then the females all get pregnant all at the same time. The calves are all taken away in the same season. The calves are killed all at the same time. The mothers are milked all at the same time. It goes through seasonal cycles. In an economy of scale, this is how the cost of meat and dairy is able to get to a low enough level where people can afford it. Artificial insemination is a really important part of that. So practically, a natural process cannot come close to the efficiency of artificial insemination. I can already hear the protests now. Not all animals are raped, they might say. Not all domesticated animals are raped, just most of them. Just the vast majority of them. Is that all we need to do to deny a problem? Just point to some random outliers to dismiss a massive atrocity? No, that's not how it works. And a lot of people will say, oh, I don't see it like that. I don't see it like how you see it. Oh, but you do. You do. If you were in the victim's situation, you would call it rape. You would. You would absolutely see it how I see it if it was done to you. In your words, you might be against this, but in your actions, you are 100% pro-bestiality. You pay for it to happen. You finance them. It's not done by a vet. It's done by a farmhand. It's not a medical procedure. It's exploitation. It's not in the animal's interest to be raped. It's in the farmer's interest. It's for the farmer's profit margins. You do not need dairy. You do not need eggs. You do not need milk. You do not need cheese. You do not need meat. You can live a happy, healthy life as a vegan. The consensus of scientific dietetic information concludes that a vegan diet is healthy for all walks of life. I've been a vegan for 2 years. I feel fine. I feel great. You don't need this. When's the last time in your life that you took a stand against something? You really took a stand for your principles. How many times have you done that in your life? This is an opportunity right now to take a principled stance against something you know to be wrong. It's easy to go vegan. This shouldn't even be hard. I hope I've reached someone out there with this video. I'm an adult now. I went through my whole life paying for this stuff up until now. I wish someone had told me the way things really are. I don't want to pay anyone to rape animals. I respect them enough to leave them alone. If I've bruised your ego, I hope you can set that aside and really just consider it from the victim's point of view for this. They deserve better from us. They deserve, at the very least, to just be left alone.
Place like this street in New York City. If you were unfortunate enough to be the victim of a crime or taken ill unexpectedly, you might think that surrounded by all these people, someone would intervene. After all, isn't there safety in numbers? Psychologists say no. Research suggests that often a victim is less likely to receive assistance when surrounded by a group rather than a single bystander. When people are in a crowd, it's easier to pass the buck. It's what psychologists call the diffusion of responsibility. Liverpool Street Station in London, a busy thoroughfare for commuters. Unknown to these passers-by, Peter is an actor. As part of an experiment on bystander apathy, he's pretending to be ill.
Help! Help!
How long before he gets help?
Please, somebody. Help! Help me, sir. Please help me.
Helping would be inconvenient or even risky. He lies there for more than 20 minutes and no one raises an eyebrow.
Please, somebody help me.
It's always very distressing to watch situations like this where people are obviously suffering and no one's actually helping them. But what we have here is two conflicting rules. One is the rule that we ought to help, and the other is the rule that we ought to do what everybody else is doing. And here you have effectively a group of strangers who are exerting the pressure not to intervene, not to help. And it's very difficult to rebel.
Ruth, another actor, takes Peter's place. How long before she receives help? Four minutes later, and 34 people have passed without stopping.
Well, people don't really want to know. They just haven't got the time. Well, they have got the time, they just don't want to get involved.
Unwittingly, these strangers have silently formed a temporary group with a rule: don't get involved. They're afraid to stand out from the crowd and won't take action if no one else does. This woman has clearly spotted Ruth, but she conforms to the rule and does nothing. Watch what happens, though, when someone else helps.
You alright? You alright?
Yes, thank you.
Sure, you look a bit clicky, you know what I mean?
She suddenly finds herself in a different group with a new rule: to help.
You want to sit up?
She don't look well, does she?
You alright, yeah? Yes, you are.
First I thought she was dead. Then I sort of checked to see if she was breathing or not. And I looked around and I couldn't believe that no one had noticed her, because there was a bloke sat there just absorbed in reading a newspaper.
This time, Peter's dressed as a respectable gentleman. Now that his dress is in keeping with those around him, how long before he's rescued?
Hello, sir. How are you today?
I'm alright.
6 seconds. She even calls him sir, and suddenly everyone's a good Samaritan.
Do you suffer from epilepsy?
No.
Why you're lying on the floor in the rain?
Because he's part of the right group, everyone wants to help.
I would just hate to be in his position of feeling ill and nobody helping and walking past, so I'd just like to check that he was okay.
And I thought, well, it's wet, so he must really be ill because he's going to ruin his suit anyway.